everyone and welcome to the Animated Earlier, and thanks for joining me as we talk about the Floor of Death story arc within the Tower of God webtoon series. An arc in where we get to meet some new characters such as Graham Jihad, Hell Joe, plus Udik Maizano returns to the story and Karaka meets up with Team Rachel. However, we're not here to talk about them in this video as I've already given you my thoughts and opinions on the newest characters and the lore that appears on the Floor of Death in my other part 1 review for this arc. So this time around we're going to be talking about the main cast and how they developed and interact with the characters on the Floor of Death, as Bam did have some very liberating development. But first, a small detour, as I want to talk about Eon, as it turns out that she survived thanks to the dormant flame within her, momentarily shielding her from Yuri's attack. A flame that only females that are direct descendant from the Eon family can attain. This I loved, as it tells us that Eon can still grow exponentially stronger in the future, as this flame was not controlled. Yet it was momentarily able to protect them from Yuri Jihad's attack. Being if it was the weakest or the strongest attack in Yuri's arsenal is irrelevant, because Yuri was out to basically take out Karaka on that platform. So this had murderous intent behind it, and yet just for a split second, it saved Eon, and that swordsman that was with them. So if she can control this, if she can perfect this and hone this skill, this would be incredible. No Rak in this scene, however, but fear not, because he does appear at the end looking rather powerful and possibly like a tribal leader based on his outfit and design. I want to know how he got there, so hopefully that gets cleared up in the next arc. Nevertheless though, I like that bit of content. Seeing the results of both Khun and Indorsi's training in action was a delight to read. Seeing how Yuri was able to teach Indorsi a new trick or two was a visual delight, and seeing her fly with Bing Bong through most of it I thought was really fun and a great addition to her arsenal and plethora of skills that she's able to use. I wish we had a bit more action from her in this arc. Nevertheless though, I thought that she was rather enjoyable, a bit comedic in places. Nevertheless though, it shows progress and development from her, which I'm all for. As for Khun learning Ender Core, this was badass. Granted, he needs beta inside of his lighthouse to perform this move, as it was only possible thanks to a lighthouse upgrade, which was super expensive and a little bit naughty, illegal. However, in having Evan give Khun this ability and upgrade shows how reliable and how much they're going to rely on him while on this floor. As we know that Shinzu is limited on the Floor of Death thanks to there being no administrator. So this I really did like, because again, it shows how much the smarter characters can be more of an influence and make more of an impact and more of a splash than say some of the overpowered wave controllers that we've seen throughout the series so far. With that being said, if Khun does manage to learn how to use Ender Core on his own without Beta's help or assistance in the future, this could be super useful, as not only could it trap his enemies, but also restrain his allies. Who knows? Maybe he could use this skill on Bam, if Bam has a situation like he did when he went into his Rage Berserk form at the platform train station many arcs ago. So if Bam does go crazy for having too much power inside of him, Khun can use this ability, contain him for just a short period of time until he cools down, or until they can think of a better plan. This, I thought, was so good and has a lot of potential to be great in the future. Okay, so for Bam's character, in general, this arc was brilliant for him, as he's learning more about his own past, which allows him to slowly but surely move forward and find his true self, which is what he's been trying to do so far. His interactions with Rachel shows great development and is very liberating for his character. He's finally starting to realise that Rachel doesn't care about him, as when they first encounter each other on the floor, she warns him of Karaka's arrival. He starts getting skeptical, understanding that she's not worried about him specifically, or for him. More so, she's worried about Karaka getting the thorn. Plus, he also realises that going back to the way things used to be, back in that gloomy, dark cave, is impossible, based on Rachel's actions up to this point. However, after learning about Arlene, his goal is to find a true paradise that will make everybody happy, stating that Thug, Jihad, and even the 10 great families, anyone in his way, will now be his enemies. That line mixed with the visuals again felt very liberating for Bam's character, but more interestingly it reflects Jihad's initial wishes, as he once wanted to find a place and a means to make everybody within the tower happy. That's what Jihad told the God of Guardians when he wanted power. Now part of me does think that maybe Arlene has a bit of influence in Jihad's turning evil and darker, because we learn that Jihad proposed to Arlene, but then Arlene was with V, so she rejected him. And rejection can cause a man's heart to go corrupt and spiral into a dark place. So the fact that Bam is slowly but surely liberating himself from Rachel is kind of making it a lot less likely that Bam will go down the path of darkness, because we know how corrupt Rachel is. Even one of the Guardians that gives a test to Bam and Rachel is like, I see darkness in your soul. You know, it's dirty, it's murky. So obviously, if Bam stays around Rachel and keeps chasing after her like he has been in Season 1 and the first opening parts of Season 2, then of course he is going to be darkened as well in his own heart and his own soul. So yeah, I like this. This was great for Bam's character. Brilliant. All of what I said was good, and even after learning all of this information, I love the fact that Bam still retains his human side, showing signs of guilt for what he did or what he said towards Rachel, giving her a chance to take Lord Daijar's test. He cried after telling Rachel goodbye, showing that he still holds some form of feelings towards her. Yes, it was a painful thing for him to say, however, he knew it was something important that had to be said and has to be put in motion. But yeah, overall, I'm glad Bam said that, because we all are, aren't we? We're all waiting for Bam to push Rachel down a cliff, just like she pushed him away. Another example of Bam keeping his humanity would be when they're talking about taking the test, he refuses to ask Hockney for help, as it would put him in danger, showing once again that no matter what his goals or his resolve is, to achieve his goal, he won't jeopardize his friend's safety. That always takes priority. Even when we go back to the castle of Hell Joe's, he sees that Yuri is going crazy and something's not quite right with her, something feels off. So instead of taking the test straight away, he detours to try and calm her down. Thus essentially, near enough giving up on the thorn, because the thorn was the test's reward for either Bam or Rachel who passed it. So I like the fact that Bam is progressing and he's still keeping his human side, which again is different from what we heard Jihad do as Jihad moved up the tower and interacted with other people. So this, yeah, thumbs up from me from Bam's character. So I guess we better talk about Rachel now, seeing how during her segment with Bam, she gets bent out of shape and knows that her hold over him is slipping away. But more suitably, she feels like her spotlight is being taken by Bam. As we know from this arc, she wants to find that paradise that Arlene mentioned about that nice guy, and is inserting herself into Arlene's story, making her believe that she is the one who will carry on Arlene's wishes. But with Bam now wanting to gain a paradise for everyone to be happy in and collect all these thorn fragments, Rachel is lashing out. Hence why we see a more aggressive act from her, being demanding, stating that she has a right to take that test, getting irritated at Bam's acceptance of agreeing that she has a right to take it as well. She's very conflicting in what she is acting and doing, but at the same time, it just reeks of the negativity that Rachel has brought to the series already, where she has to validate her own importance. She has to feel like she's the most important thing within the tower, even though she isn't. To me, Rachel seems like a girl living in her own fantasies who refuses anything that goes against her. Anything that is said badly towards her or would negatively affect her, she sees as an enemy and will cut it out straight away, especially if it doesn't align with her own ideals and her own fantasy or fiction. So now, let's wash our hands, because we've been talking about Rachel, who is filthy, and let's talk about someone who is not filthy and is an amazing character. I'm talking, of course, about Yuri Jihad, because she was super interesting within this arc, plus the Black March and the Green April were surprisingly full of interesting information, and they wanted to tell their story. The 13-month weapons were waiting for their true master in order to become one. So we're left here as an audience to wonder who their true master possibly could be. A random guess from my perspective would be Wangnam, as this would give him a much needed power boost, and the Black March really didn't react much when being held by Bam the first time round. Although, you could argue that Bam hadn't fully awakened to his full potential at that point, so if he gets another chance to wield the Black March, I'll be looking for any signs or reactions from both characters to see if maybe Bam could be their true master. Although, I would like it more if Wangnam was, because it would give him something more to do and some more substance within the actual story itself. But one really interesting name that was dropped was Yuri Jihad. Is it Yuri or Yurim? We'll say Yurim, that sounds right. Clearly a princess, but not An, who we already knew had 2 of the 13-month weapons and went a bit crazy as a result. That's what Graham Jihad told us, at least. So I did look up this name, and it turns out that it was Graham's twin sister, who previously owned the Indigo July. Now I know looking up something like this would be risky for spoilers, but I was super interested and really had to know. Plus, this helps give Graham's story about An more personal feeling and more substance and confirmation that something like this would happen because of the events that happened between Graham Jihad and Yurim, the 2 twin sisters. I won't say what happens just in case you haven't read that yet, but of course there's something spicy to come about them later on. Maybe that was the story that she didn't tell Bam. Who knows at this point? We're just going to have to wait and find out. Nevertheless though, really good, intriguing piece of information. And you can't just drop a name like that and not expect someone to look it up. So, I did. Sorry. And finally, on the Black March and Green April that we see in this, I thought that their designs were brilliant. I like the fact they did drop some nice good information, and their interactions with Yuri was fantastic. As for Yuri, I loved her in this arc. She was brilliant. She was quite comedic, as she was refusing to only use one of the 13-month weapons, wanting to ignite both, as well as lying about igniting one in the past, so Evan celebrating, informing everyone that she basically could do it. Plus, her interactions with Uruk were just, again, funny. Uruk has a great dynamic with every Princess of Jihad that he's met. Always quite negative, their feelings towards him. Nevertheless, though, still great. She did have some serious moments, and her berserk state that she fell into was amazing to see unfold. I wasn't expecting her to be so heavily active in this arc, but I'm not complaining because we all love Yuri Jihad. As for Karaka's team, this was not a good couple of days for them. Getting squashed by Uruk Maizano and being humiliated by Gansan was amazing to watch. Not gonna lie, I wanted to see these characters in action and be badass, but at the same time, seeing them get completely put in their place, I thought was brilliant. Hockney turning into a beautiful butterfly after absorbing all of those souls, and now he feels powerless and humiliated at the end of the arc. This could lead to some great character development for him, making him a bit more psychological and a bit more smarter, methodical, a little bit more interesting. Although he is extremely interesting, this could help boost him even further, and I would love to see that happen. Because now we have this crushed mental mindset that Hockney is in. He's finally found someone who is stronger than him, who he feels like is impossible to beat. So now he's going to be at 100% driven towards his ambitions of getting his complete prime back. Yeah, we can see a lot from him soon, hopefully. I love seeing how there seems to be a lot of respect shown from Karaka towards White, helping him regain his full glory and then some, as Karaka also displayed to be a man of culture, only watching the news. That was hilarious. I wasn't sure how Miss Sang arrived on the floor of death as she was with Casino, and I thought only 2 people could fit inside the suitcase. So how she managed to appear there weirdly, I don't know, and it confused me, but nevertheless, she didn't really do anything, So, oh well. I like what they did with the group as it set up some promising storylines for later things to happen, but still, I found them a bit underwhelming, and Yuha's outfit was really nice though. I do love her character. So sparkly, so great. So very quickly, we'll end off by talking about Hockney. This character has a very cool design, and his eyes are amazing, which turns out they can see into the future ever so briefly. Plus, I thought the way they intertwined his character into the story, yes, we know that he's from the Floor of Death, but he had more of an influence than I initially thought he would have. This I really did like. Learning about the fact that he lost his eyes, Meta, his friend, took him to Lord Daija, trading eyes for a task that of course was to bring the Saver to him, aka to bring Bam. Seeing his development through this arc, I thought added a bit more depth to his character, a bit more lore to the story and to the tower itself, and for me, made some good, enjoyable reading. As well as the fact is, this character, I like the fact that, yeah, development-wise, he did find friendship and he found people he can trust. I can't actually remember, though, if he's still with the main cast, so if you can let me know in the comments down below, or I will find out when I start reading again. Nevertheless, though, I liked him. Overall, this arc was a lot of fun to read, as it focuses on the main set of characters, but still offers more to come from some characters like Sashi Faker and Beta, as they were underused. So hopefully the side characters get a bit more spotlight in future arcs. Nevertheless though, a great arc, and I'm sure there are lots of things that I haven't talked about in this video and in part 2. Nevertheless though, hopefully you've enjoyed both videos, and if not, go check out the other one. But I hope you've enjoyed. Hit the like button if you did, subscribe if you're new for more Tower of God content as we go up the tower even further, as well as the fact is, comment down below your thoughts and opinions and anything that I missed. Much appreciated, have a great day, alligator, madane, goodbye.